Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this special episode or edition of What in the World is Going On. I'm your host, Brad Hurst. This particular video is just going to be sort of a promo for things that I'm going to be doing here in the next number of weeks. There's a lot of activity going on. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's going on. I've been doing a lot of reading, a lot of researching, looking at the news articles, looking at the brochures, looking at conferences and meetings and other types of activities taking place inside the Middle East. I've also been doing some historical research, comparing it to what we see in the book of Daniel and what we see in the book of Ezekiel. And to be quite honest with you, there's some pretty stunning things that are actually taking place. I'm kind of at the position right now to say that I really do believe that we're starting to see the vision of Daniel chapter 10 through 12 start to come into place here, and it's starting to speak. Not only is that vision, but also the visions of Daniel chapter 2, Daniel chapter 7, and Daniel chapter 8. In addition to Ezekiel chapter 38 and 39, we're beginning to see, shall we say, government structures come into play here, are being put together, right? Even as we speak, government structures are being put into place, alliances and so forth, that are just almost staggering to think about. It's a stunning developments that are actually taking place just in the last number of years, and what we can expect to see here in the next 2 or 3 years. So, in Daniel chapter 8, we have there are several statements in Daniel chapter 8. It's a vision that is often associated with a guy by the name of Antiochus Epiphanes. And many people want to take not only this passage of Scripture, but a lot of passages of Scripture and try to apply them to the past. And I think that we end up blinding ourselves to the reality that it's quite possible that these visions are most likely intended for the future, for the time of the end, which is what they actually state. And when we make a past application, we can miss what's actually going on in our own day that might better fit the scenario that we see in the prophecy. And Daniel chapter 8 is one of those places in the scriptures that people tend to make that mistake with. And the vision is very simple. I mean, you can go ahead and read it and see it. I mean, if I just sit there and just kind of summarize it here, we see a vision with a ram that's got 2 horns, and we know that ram's coming. It's headed towards the north and towards the west and towards the south, and we're told that ram waxes great, and it does whatever it wants to do, and we read passage of Scripture. It says that ram is actually the Medo-Persian Empire. We can clearly see that. But then after that ram, we see another animal that comes out. In that particular animal is a goat that's got a notable horn in between its eyes, and we're told that goat comes out of the west. And we're told that the horn itself is the first king. It's been understood that king is actually Alexander the Great. And the passage itself says it's the kingdom of Greece. And it's his first king. And so that would actually be Alexander the Great. Ironically, Alexander actually means the great. We're also told that in his greatness, when he reaches his apex of his kingdom, that he basically, we know that he actually dies, but the horn is broken, and it's broken up into 4 smaller horns, and those smaller horns don't have the same power as the original horn. But out of those smaller horns, in the latter part of their kingdom, out of those smaller horns comes a little horn that we're told waxes exceedingly great towards the east and towards the south and towards the beautiful land. So we have a progression here. We have Medo-Persia, great. We have Alexander in Greece, very great. And then we have this little horn that is exceeding great, and specifically towards the east and towards the south and towards what is known as the Pleasant Land, which I think is actually Israel. And to be honest with you, there's really nobody that came after Alexander the Great in that part of the world that really could even, fit that, because they would actually have to be greater than Alexander the Great himself. Antiochus Epiphanes certainly doesn't fit. None of the Roman emperors fit. They tried, but none of them ever were able to accomplish that. And so what we find is this little horn itself actually waxes great towards the east and towards the south and towards the beautiful land. It doesn't have a westward movement. It has an eastward and a southward movement. So we're also told that the vision takes place in what is known as at the time of the indignation, or in the latter time, and it's actually many days away. It takes place when transgressors come to the full. And so there's a lot of factors that take place. It's almost like the culmination of a lot of things taking place. You have these empires coming and going. You have these horns rising up and what have you. And then you have this one horn that is exceedingly great, and it's towards the east and towards the south, towards the beautiful land. It's at a time of what they refer to as the latter time, at the time of the indignation, or the end of the indignation. Transgressors coming to the full. It's not for many days, and so I think that it's actually hard. You'd be hard pressed to find a past fulfillment with this, with all these factors taking place here, and so. What we should be looking for at some point in time is some sort of scenario where there is either a person or a kingdom that is expanding itself in an eastward direction and a southward direction, and has its intent in terms of actually grabbing hold of Israel as well. So and I do think that we have somebody who's doing that, a nation that's actually doing it, in particular a person who's actually doing that. But there are some other things that taking place to take into consideration as well here as well. In Daniel 11, we see a lot of activity with the king of the north, king of the south. But there's also two statements in there regarding Libya and Ethiopia. Just in the last number of days, my understanding of what's being talked about in Libya and Ethiopia, you also see them mentioned in Ezekiel chapter 38. You see Libya, Ethiopia, and Persia. What I thought at the time when I originally posted about Libya and Ethiopia a few videos back, I'm now going to modify considerably, because I now recognize that is those statements are bigger than what I originally thought. Because I thought we're talking about just the current state of Ethiopia and Libya as we know them today. But when we look at history and we look in the past, we have to look at what the prophet understood when he was actually prophesying concerning the events that we see in Daniel and Ezekiel. And Ethiopia and Libya, there's more to those, to calling those places into the forefront in those passages than I originally thought. And in next couple weeks, I'm going to be putting together a video series talking about the rise of this. There's a new empire actually rising. All right, it's they've been at it since about they've been at it since November of 2017. They've had 4 different congresses that they've met with. We're not talking about our Congress, but we're talking about a congressional group that they get together. They're putting together their government structure, their military, their economy, their education system, their justice system. They've been meeting for about the past 4 years now. They have another meeting coming up here in November, actually not November, but in December, right around December 20th, our time. And then after that, there are 2 more meetings that are going to take place. These are annual meetings that they have where they begin to hammer out all the things that they want to do and how they want to do it. They've mapped it out. They even have a map of the territories that are going to be involved. And let me just tell you that if they actually pull this off, it's kind of spoiler alert. It's going to be centered in Turkey, and it's going to be massive in its scope. It'll be the largest empire that the world has ever known. And it will stretch from essentially basically it'll stretch from South America and across Indonesia, into the Middle East, down into Africa, and up into Central Asia and what have you. And it's a massive, massive empire. And accordingly, they plan on putting this thing together sometime in 2023. In other words, they're actually putting it together now, but then they plan on introducing this to the world sometime in 2023. Now, I'm sure they're going to have their hang-ups and hiccups and so forth. And there are going to be some places that may or may not want to cooperate, to the extent that they need them to. But the intent is to bring this thing online sometime in 2023. And what is, in addition to that, what is interesting about that is that the Treaty of Lusain, which was established in 1923, expires in 2023. And according to international law, from what I can see with the treaty and other articles online, there's quite a bit of speculation that the Ottomans can claim their territories back. Now, I don't think that that's going to go necessarily smoothly, but they're working and they're part of this. The Turks are part of this process of bringing this big, gigantic empire together in such a way that, I mean, they're actually the central state that's actually organizing this whole thing. The work that's been going on in doing this has been going on for several years, but specifically the international effort's been going on for the last 4 or 5 years. So I do want to take some time later on to begin to address that and direct you to articles and news sources and YouTube channels and societies, government organizations and what have you, where they openly talk about this. I've been reading through their constitution. I've been reading the minutes of their congresses. I've been reading the seminars that they've had and watching as many as I possibly can watch and understand. I've been trying to get hold of a book that's actually been put out by Erdogan, the president of Turkey, addressing this particular issue of what's going on. So it's in addition to that, in addition to what we see going on with regard to Daniel 8 and Daniel 7 and Daniel 12 and Daniel 11 and Daniel 2 and what have you, all the things going on there, what we see going on in Ezekiel 38 and how the structure for all that is actually being put into place, and other passages of scripture as well. One of the things that we always had to keep in mind is that if these visions or if these prophecies were starting to come into fruition and take place, we should see others starting to get on board as well on their own, because Daniel does tell us in Daniel chapter 12, it says that many are going to run to and fro, and knowledge of the prophecy is going to increase. Okay, and what's interesting is talking about running to and fro. It's talking about people going back and forth and picking up little pieces at a time, and then bringing these things together, and all of a sudden everybody kind of coming on board at the same time with what they've got, and the pieces starting to fall into place, and we're starting to see that right now. There are others who have talked about some of the things that we've been talking about in the last number of weeks. Many people looking at Turkey now, and in the Middle East, and the things going on with that, and beginning to understand that we don't have a European Antichrist. I mean, we're looking in the wrong direction if we look for Europe. Not only should we not be looking in the past, but we shouldn't be looking in Europe either. We need to be looking in the Middle East, and specifically, we need to be looking at Turkey. So I've mentioned some of this in the past, but there's a lot of information coming in right now, and I'm just trying to read through this stuff so I can try to organize it and present it in a more, shall we say, understandable way, so that you yourself can grab hold of this and take hold of it and show. I'm going to show you the maps. I'm going to show you the size of this empire. I'm going to read some of their minutes to you. I'm going to show you how they plan on structuring what it is that they're doing. And it is a massive, massive empire that they're putting together. And they state that the purpose of it is if they can pull this off, they really do believe that they can establish world peace. In fact, they actually are going to present this to the world as a peace initiative, and that all who are part of it will be able to participate in the peace that this so-called empire is going to bring about. So that's it for right now. I'm sorry to disappoint you. I don't want to piecemeal this in such a way where it's all disconnected and what have you. But I do want you to understand that I am looking at this stuff, and I'm looking forward to putting this stuff together here in the next few weeks, and just start bringing video after video after video as we get updates on this thing. This is happening faster than we can actually process. I mean, the prophecy of Daniel is actually downstream of us, and we're upstream trying to figure out where everything is going. So we need to get ourselves caught up and on board. So anyway, I thank you for your time. I look forward to seeing you here in the next couple of weeks. and with some more videos. And until then, good day. Thank you.